Start recording. Studio mode. Yeah. All right. I was going to do some quick little tutorial on how to play this bad boy. Whenever you're trying to last hit minions, you see how when their health gets low, you can dash through immediately and help kind of pick them up really quick. That way your auto tech kind of goes through, and then you can get it right afterwards. Now, you want to make sure you're farming safely, so you want to play kind of close to the minions so you can make sure you don't miss anything. Try not to use your Q too much to farm with. You want to make sure you use your E a lot, because you can use your Q to harass a bit better. See, all I'm doing is just kind of saving my E to try to last hit. Usually works pretty good. Walk up and poke with your Q. Probably could have ignited that one, but it's fine. I get a lot of damage here. If you're kind of low health, it's good to just go back. You don't really want to be sitting with a no health in lane, and the jungler can come kill you easily. So first thing you want to max is his Q first. His E is really good to start level 1 because then it makes you extremely. It just makes it extremely easy to last hit with it. So you're gonna want to rush for this Phantom Dancer as soon as possible. So both of these are going to do Yasuo very well, and so you see I'm close to 700. So if you go back with 600, you could honestly buy like 2 daggers. You could buy Brawler's Glove is really strong because of his passive, so his crit chance is doubled. So once you get like one of these things, he's getting an extra 5%. You can kind of see over here his crit. So whenever I had that, I had 5% crit, and then now, or yeah, is this like, that was strange. Yeah, so 20% crit now. I also have the dagger, so I can just go back to lane. I'm using this stuff to teleport around, so I don't have to like wait to do stuff. So you want to try to build up your... Oh, this guy's... He does a lot of damage. Try to use your minions to get back to safety. If you're by yourself, you can push the wave pretty quickly just because you have these like super short cooldowns. So if you want to use your Q to farm, that's totally fine here. Just see, he doesn't really do a lot of damage, so that's why you want to kind of save it to harass with, and build up your stacks really quickly. So if this pushes, so you want to try to get these into turret range as fast as possible. That way the person loses CS on it. You also don't want to take damage like I'm doing right now. So you want to make sure your minions are tanking. And then that's about it. So build up your Q while he's here. Try to bait him into it. So if he comes back, this lasts for a decent amount of time. See, I can hold on to it for a while. And if he comes back for it, then I could, throw it at him, kind of harass him a little bit. I don't want to obviously use my ult in turret range because I'm going to get, booped on, which is fine. You're never going to play bot, so there's no point in telling me how to ward here. I mean, this is just kind of like all champions kind of thing. You learn how to use correctly, but... kind of trying to play it safe as much as possible. Its minions are dying, so you need to get out of there. You don't really... You take a lot of damage, you know, as I said, as Yasuo, so it's a... So you can push stuff really quickly, though. So that's kind of just how he farms. Now I'm level 6, so I'm just going to kind of go back to base, accelerate the time a little bit. Once you have some of these items, you know, I'm just going to rush for this as soon as possible. It might not be a bad idea to get boots early on, depending, you know, I have a Zeal already, which gives me the crit and attack speed. It gives me some movement speed. Getting some boots also increases my movement speed, so I'm just a little bit faster. It helps a lot with your mobility, so you can kind of stay alive since he is so squishy. Now, whenever you're fighting people, as Yasuo, there's an important thing to know with some of his combos, which are not very... They're not that hard to do, but you just got to kind of keep in mind the damage output that he's able to do constantly. You know, so I'm going to go over here and put a... So say this is the front line, and you want to kill this person back here. There's obviously a couple things you can do. You can dash, you know, get on them, and then you can just keep kind of auto-attacking them, which isn't necessarily the best, you know, best thing to do, depending if they're like really healthy. But if they're really squishy, it's a good way to close the gap on people. One thing that you might want to do, which is kind of a you know, different way of playing. If the front line's here, you don't want to get CC'd. You know, just kind of build up your Q stacks. Then what you can do is you can dash, build another one up, then kind of, you know, get out of there if you're not going to win. It's very important to make sure you're utilizing your auto attacks between these attacks. He doesn't have like the fastest attack speed right now. It's getting quicker, but you know, if you're gonna auto attack then E, then that's good. Auto attack Q, auto attack E, auto attack Q, auto attack E, auto attack Q. You know, now his wind wall obviously is just really good for blocking skill shots. You really don't want to use it just blatantly for no reason. You want to make sure you're saving it for you see a skill coming at you, stuff like that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go back to base, get myself a bunch of gold, and so you can kind of see what it's like whenever he has some of these core items. If you want to go Berserker Greaves, you get a lot of damage, so it's not a bad idea. You're playing top, getting the Mercury Treads is sometimes a good idea, depending on what you're playing against. So if you get this is kind of his core build. From here, you can kind of get other stuff. You can get Guardian Angel, which makes you a little bit tankier. You can get Frozen Mallet. You can get... actually, that's the biggest thing that they're showing. This is enough damage for him. As you can see, he has 100% crit now. So that's plenty of stuff. But whenever you're playing, and also level up my person a bit. Practice tools so useful. Oh my god. I'm just gonna instantly kill this guy. It'd be funny. You can see how much damage he's doing now. I'm gonna come over here. These things are still here. So just from auto attacking, they're doing about 300 damage. Obviously, this is with these 2 damage dealing items. That's quite a bit. His Q hits for the exact same amount. You know, that's why it's important to weave these in. Now, his E obviously doesn't do very much damage. It does like, what was it, 60 something damage? Yeah, 67 damage. It doesn't do like really anything against some of these targets. So you want to make sure you're using this as much as possible. Now his ultimate, whenever you build this up, you know, you hit something. It just does a lot of damage really quick. And it's just a really, really good assassination key, because you keep in mind, you get your crits gain 50% bonus armor pen. His critical strikes, so once you have 100% crit, you're doing basically 50% armor penetration, which is a ton of, just like an absolute ton of armor pen, which is great because tanks build a lot of armor, so that's going to get rid of like half of it, and it's going to make them a lot more vulnerable to you attacking them and stuff. Another key thing to remember whenever you're kind of clearing stuff is when it's a good idea to now use your... He's going to die. When it's a good time to, say, use your EQ, when EQ is just simply that, spin around, which is great for AoE stuff. There's another thing you can do. Once you E, there's a certain like grace period where if you E towards something and Q, like that, you wait a second. If you wait a second after you land, you can, do your Q as a normal Q instead of like the instead of this one. So if you're en route, pushing Q on the way there obviously guarantees the AoE, but once you land, you can do your Q and it does a standard one. So what this is useful is because say you want to get to this back person back here, you can E and then Q and then ult the person. That gives you a lot more range, and then you're not having to E to the target. So, say if you want to catch up to the person and you have this, you could simply just E and then Q, but the problem with that is if this target, you want to kill them, if they flash or something, you're not going to be able to E to them again for a while. So if you can close the gap with a max range Steel Tempest, you build it up like this, you could simply, dash, then hit a Q, and then ult to him. That's all you got to do. So it's super easy. But like I said, that's going to be really highly dependent on how you want to play. So... let's see some other things. Let's turn my auto refresh cooldowns. So flash is also kind of interesting. There's like some different mechanics you can do with it. Obviously, I'm trying to remember what the really important one is. It's kind of cool. I think you can like that. Yeah, that's a pretty big one. That's kind of hard to get away from, because I think flashing and queuing is actually kind of slow, if I remember correctly. So you have that wind up there. If you build up your Q and you Q and then flash to the target, you're like almost on the target immediately. And so if they get hit by it, even if your ultimate's not up, they're gonna be airborne and you're gonna be right next to them afterwards. So it's let's see here. I want to do this again. So you're going to do is you're going to Q and do a ton of damage like right off the bat. Build this up, build this up. So you could like, let's see here. I'm trying to remember how to do it. You could dash, do a whole bunch of damage. You can actually, like, while they're still airborne, you can wait for a second. So say you hit the target. See how it's almost an animation cancel? The damage went through, but I was still on the ground momentarily. So all you have to do with that, you can hit them. You can hit them and then E to the target. You actually get some damage prior to your ultimate. Now, they're airborne, so they can't stop it, so it's just adding a little bit extra damage. Small things like that can make a really good Yasuo player just because you're, hello there, Mr. Scuttle Crab. The more damage you can inflict in a smaller window is to best utilize his damage output, because you can see he doesn't do a ton of damage on these dummies, obviously, but 300 critting is very strong. So, might not be necessarily the best idea to just ult as soon as they're airborne. Now, if it's an ally doing it, knocking them airborne might be a pretty good idea. But since you can have a small window to say, hit this target. Whoops. See, I hit this target with my knockup. I can actually get an auto tech and an E off and then hit them again. And it's just, a little bit extra damage. So, hopefully that's a little helpful with some basics. He's not very complicated. I mean, he's pretty basic. You have a Q that's sometimes longer than usual. You stab things with your little sword. That's all you gotta do. You can dash, dash, dash. Another key thing that's really important to utilize whenever you're trying to close, dummy. Is if you're wanting to make sure you save your minions, to be able to use as an escape, you don't want to just run in and Q everything, because then they're almost all dead, and your minions are going to kill them too fast. So a good thing to do, this is a good example down here. If you want to get somewhere, pick and choose, then do your damage, then come back. See how fast you can do that? It's kind of crazy. But if you auto attack, so if you want to, see, I kill these guys in one hit, so you don't want to auto attack the casters sometimes if you want to use them for an escape. But well, just kind of practicing, get used to him. Other than that, that's Yasuo. So exit game, and then stop.